Hey folks, John with Complete Technology Solutions, your friend in the computer business. So, once again, we're going to have one of our little Facebook scroll items that came by. Now, I know I've seen these on the outside of Facebook, but once again, they do come across, and I want it to be as honest as possible. When I see them, I buy them, we test them. So, here we go. All right, folks. So, if you'll recall in the past year, we've done a couple of interesting things. We did the laser, which was by far one of the coolest things, burning a hole and stuff. If you haven't seen that one, check out the description. We did the automatic soldering gun, which was kind of cool. I've got a few other things on order also. But on today's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be testing out these solder seal heat shrink butt connectors. I know that sounds kind of funny, right? So the idea is behind these, at least when I was reading them, you guys have all seen me do a lot of soldering on this channel. The concept is that you can join two pieces of wire together with these connectors, and it will not only water seal them, but it will actually solder them using only a heat gun. And that to me is pretty darn cool. All you use is a heat gun, no soldering iron, no solder to clean up, no rosin, no flux. No, it just sounds really cool, right? So we'll have to see how this works. And now for me, and I'll show Stumpy this. So they've got multiple sizes in here, and as you can see, what you've got is heat shrink tubing around it. You've got two water seals on both sides, and you've got this, what they call low temperature solder in the middle. And the low temperature solder is supposed to be low enough to where it literally responds to the heat of a heat gun. So we're going to take a look at that and see if it actually works. For me, most of my soldering that I do usually involves small stuff. So putting on, taking a small piece of wire and putting on a resistor just for LED lighting and such. So we're going to test this really, really small and see if this holds and test continuity. So let me stage this thing up real quick. We'll be right back with you. All right, guys, so we're going to give Stumpy a real workout here. Since the new Stumpy can focus in so closely, let's see how it actually does. So these are the little LEDs that I typically use whenever I'm wiring up some of my little game machines or anything that just needs little tiny bits of light in there. You cannot run 5 volts through these things or they just pop instantly. So to do this, you actually have to run a resistor in line. Now, typically, to do this has been a little bit of a challenge in the past. I mean, you can solder it, but you're talking about 2 little tiny wires, and getting it to solder correctly is always a problem. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stage this up on my little helping hands guy here, and we're going to see if Stumpy can pick this up. Now, I know that this might be a little bit loud because it says that the next thing we're going to need is our heat gun. And I've got our old trusty heat gun right here. Now, typically you would want to take your heat gun and get an adapter on here that narrows this down a little bit so that you can get a nice point of heat. Unfortunately, I don't have one, so we're going to do with what we've got. All right, so we're going to take our resistor and we're going to clamp it in our little guy's hand here. All right. On the other side, we're going to take our LED, and let me make sure Stumpy is focused on that. Yes, he is. All right, and we're going to clamp it over here. Now, you might have noticed, guys, my little helping hands guy has lost one of his little helping hands. I don't know where that's at, so I'm having to kind of improvise when it comes to, screwing this thing down. So bear with me a second here. All right, so hopefully, and I'm going to see if Stumpy is zoomed in enough here to see this because we want to catch this together. So you can see our resistor here, and what you can see right here to give you a little bit of background here, this is our LED, and here's where we're going to join this connection. So for this, we probably want to use the smallest one they've got in here, and it is a teensy little thing, let me tell you. And what we're going to do is we're going to slide this right up over, and we're going to slide the other one into it. Now, hopefully, we can get the little helping hands guy to cooperate. There we go. All right, so we've got both ends through that little solder connection there. I don't know if you guys can see that. Hopefully Stumpy's making it out. So we got both ends through it, and that's the little solder, and this is the heat shrink. So let's go ahead and heat up our heat gun here. Let's apply a little bit of heat to it and see what it actually does. All right. It's funny, I remember my wife, one time I was working on some electronics out in the garage, and she heard me using the heat gun. She wanted to know what I was doing with her hair dryer. You guys ever felt the heat gun? Not a hair dryer. All right, so here we go. Now it's said to work from the outside in. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the outside and work our way in. And it is shrinking. It does appear to be grabbing. Now let's get right on that solder. And look at that solder melt. Holy cow, guys. All right, let's go all the way around to both sides. And I was a little apprehensive about this melting small enough to actually grab these two little wires, but it appears that it is. All right. So there we go. And I got a little smoke there. Got a little too close. Cool that off. All right, let's take that out of there and see if it helped. Now, you can bet this is going to be a little bit warm because that heat gun's a little bit warm, needless to say. I can tell you this, it's not loose right now. Those two ends are holding very, very tightly. Look at that. All right, so let's move him out of the way. Let's set that down. Let's test continuity. That's the big thing here. I mean, if we're doing this, that was the whole point of this, was to make sure that it's working. So let's go ahead and check our continuity and see if we are getting continuity. And I'll see if I can move this somewhere where you guys can see it too. With continuity, we should get a 0. There you go, like that. All right, that's just touching these two ends together. All right. And we are getting continuity all the way through. Very, very nice. So what we've got is over here, we've got no resistance because we're testing right on the line. You guys can see that right there. When we test on the other side of the resistor, we're getting resistance, and that's what we're seeing right there. And we'll test up on the other side, and we are getting resistance. So that has worked. It feels like the connection is pretty solid. Let me take a look at that here. I'm going to give it a little tug, just see how it feels. So this is really, really tight. I mean, and I did not. Now, one thing I would do if I was actually going to use these, and I'll get Stumpy zoom back out here so you can see. If I was actually going to go ahead and use these in a real build, what I would do is I would bend the wires back in 2 fish hooks, hook them against each other like that, fold them over, then put the heat sleeve on and solder to it then. That's just giving you double protection and double seal, so it's grabbing onto each other. But in this case, what I wanted to do is just see if the solder itself was grabbing, because that is a low temp solder. And as you can see, I cannot pull that apart. That is really, really, really well done. So now I have a nice soldered connection using these silly little connections. So hey, I know these are out there. I just saw them on Facebook. I've never actually used them. I always solder the old-fashioned way. But hey, big thumbs up, great product. So if you see these, don't hesitate. They're definitely good. Very good. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. I know this was a short one, but I really wanted to test this thing out. I'm going to try using these in a couple of real builds here shortly, and we'll see how they work out. It's one of those things you don't really want to put them into production until you're 100% certain that it's going to work. Yeah, that's kind of the way I am. But as of right now, aces, no problem at all. Thanks for watching. We will catch you on the next video. I got something big planned. Don't miss it. We'll see you later. Have a good one.